The 1-hour chart is rotating beneath the 20 moving average, while holding inside overlapping session boxes. The February 25th Asia session established its anchor and remained contained within its own defined boundary. Price moved back and forth inside that box without immediate expansion. The 20 moving average flattened during this rotation. Slope was minimal. Distance to the 20MA narrowed. This was not impulsive behavior. It was duration inside containment. The session defined space, and price respected it. As the Asia session progressed, interaction with the 20MA became more frequent. Candles overlapped repeatedly near the average. Upper and lower wicks compressed into the same region. Volatility narrowed rather than expanded. Eventually, price slipped below the 20 moving average. The break was not explosive. It unfolded through gradual drift. Body size reduced as slope turned slightly negative. The key shift was not direction. It was positioning relative to the 20MA. Once below, the average began acting as short-term structural weight. Still, the Asia session boundary remained intact. Price did not immediately relocate beyond its established range. Instead, it oscillated inside the box while leaning under the 20MA. Containment dominated. This created a layered interaction. Session boundary above and below. 20MA overhead. Distance compressing. Compression persisted for multiple candles. The Bollinger Bands narrowed during this phase. Upper and lower bands moved closer together. Range contraction became visible. The structure was not expanding. It was processing. When the February 26th U.S. session began, its anchor formed beneath the 20MA. It did not begin at the extremes of the prior Asia range. It formed near the midpoint between the February 25th Asia box center and the upper boundary of the February 25th U.S. box. This positioning mattered. The new U.S. anchor was defined below the 20MA, yet still inside overlapping prior session memory. The market was not in open space. It was inside accumulated containment. As the U.S. session developed, price rotated downward. It tested the midline of the February 25th U.S. session box. Then it extended toward the 120 moving average. The 120MA sat below as higher structural weight. Unlike the 20MA, it was not flat. Its slope remained gradually upward. Distance to the 120MA had compressed over prior sessions. The move toward the 120MA was measured, not abrupt. Bodies lengthened slightly during descent. Wicks remained moderate. Volatility expanded briefly, then slowed. Price engaged the region just above the 120MA. It did not immediately collapse beneath it. Instead, candles overlapped around that zone. Interaction replaced momentum. After this downward rotation, the U.S. session did not close outside its own anchor boundary. It returned back inside the February 26th U.S. session box. Containment reasserted itself. Expansion attempted. Relocation did not form. The session ended where it began structurally defined, below the 20MA, near the 120MA, inside overlapping boxes. Containment remained active. The 120 moving average continues to hold structural weight beneath active price rotation. Its slope has not accelerated sharply upward. It has not flattened into horizontal compression either. Instead, it maintains a gradual incline. This slope defines higher timeframe persistence within the 1H structure. Distance between price and the 120MA has narrowed compared to prior expansion phases. When price previously extended, the gap was wide. Now that gap has contracted. Reduced distance increases interaction frequency. Interaction frequency changes volatility behavior. As price approached the 120MA during the February 26th U.S. session, body size slightly expanded. Then it reduced again. Follow-through did not extend. Continuation paused. This is distance mechanics at work. When distance compresses, volatility often redistributes instead of accelerating. Momentum stalls near structural weight. Rotation replaces impulse. The Bollinger Bands reflected this redistribution. During the approach toward the 120MA, bandwidth expanded modestly. Not dramatically. just enough to signal temporary volatility release. Then contraction resumed. Upper and lower bands began to narrow again. The mid-band aligned near the 20MA. Price remained beneath that midline. Compression returned. Flat states dominated several consecutive candles. Bodies overlapped. Highs and lows converged. No decisive extension formed. This flat dominance is structural information. It indicates processing rather than relocation. Duration accumulates, but direction does not resolve. The 20MA during this period remained slightly downward sloped. Not steep, not collapsing, just gently declining. That gentle slope created overhead friction. Each attempt upward met the underside of the 20MA. Candles stalled beneath it. Wicks formed into the average. Slope and distance worked together. Above sits the 20MA. Below sits the 120MA. Between them sits price. This creates a narrowing corridor. Volatility compresses inside that corridor. Session boxes overlap within it. Duration increases without expansion. The February 26th U.S. session close inside its own anchor box reinforced this containment. It did not finish at extremes. It did not finish beyond prior structural memory. It remained inside defined boundaries. Compression persisted for multiple candles after the downward rotation. No sharp rejection spike appeared. No aggressive continuation printed. Just overlapping bodies near structural references. This is structural density increasing. The more candles overlap between 20MA and 120MA, the heavier the zone becomes. Not through prediction, through repetition. The Asia session that followed formed near the lower boundary of the February 26th U.S. box. It did not open into open space. It opened inside accumulated containment. Again, the 20MA hovered above. The 120MA remained below. Bandwidth stayed moderate. Flat states returned. Several consecutive candles printed with small bodies. Upper and lower wicks overlapped prior extremes. Compression dominated again. Duration builds inside containment. Relocation requires persistence beyond it. That persistence has not formed yet. Structural weight remains centered between the two moving averages. The new Asia session began near the lower boundary of the February 26th U.S. session box and below the 20 moving average. Initial candles rotated sideways beneath the 20MA. Slope of the 20MA remained slightly negative. Distance to the 20MA narrowed with each small upward attempt. Bodies remained compact. For several candles, price did not accelerate. It hovered beneath the 20MA. Wicks touched the underside of the average. Continuation failed to extend. This flat dominance lasted multiple rotations. Bandwidth remained contained. The 4-period Bollinger Bands tightened. The 20-period bands showed only modest expansion. Compression persisted. Eventually, price reclaimed the 20MA. The move upward was not explosive. It unfolded through gradual acceptance above the average. Bodies slightly expanded. Once above the 20MA, candles tested the upper boundary of the February 26th U.S. session box. That boundary had previously contained rotation. Now it was being engaged from below. Interaction at this upper box level increased. Wicks printed into the boundary. Bodies closed near it. But immediate relocation did not follow. The 120MA remained below, still gently rising. Distance between the 20MA and 120MA remained compressed compared to earlier cycles. This keeps structural density elevated. Overlap duration increases. The 4 Bollinger Bands briefly expanded during the upward test. Then they began to narrow again. Upper band did not separate dramatically. Lower band did not collapse. This is a controlled expansion attempt. Overlap between the February 25th Asia box lower boundary and the February 26th U.S. box lower boundary still defines the broader containment. Price remains inside this layered memory. Even when testing the upper U.S. boundary, it has not relocated beyond multi-session overlap. The range persists. Daily 20MA slope mechanics on the 1H chart show mild curvature but no acceleration. Upward reclaim exists, yet distance to the 120MA remains limited. Without expanding separation between these averages, sustained extension becomes structurally heavier. Weight increases as space decreases. Multiple consecutive candles have now overlapped near the upper US boundary. Duration accumulates. Acceptance attempts form. But persistence beyond the box has not confirmed relocation. Weekly anchor interaction remains indirectly relevant through the 120MA slope beneath. As long as price oscillates between the 20MA and 120MA, structural containment dominates. Session anchors define edges. Moving averages define weight. The market is not expanding into open air. It is negotiating inside accumulated memory. Each session re-engages prior boundaries rather than abandoning them. Overlap increases density. For now, the 1-hour structure continues to rotate between the 20 moving average overhead and the 120 moving average below, while testing the upper edge of the February 26th US session box without yet relocating beyond layered containment.